time. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. I don't see, checking the chat and looking at our participants. I think we're good to go. Not seeing anybody. So with that, we'll move on. Item 5 is payables. Any questions on payables?
Nope.
I would entertain a motion to approve payables.
So moved from Alan Headley.
Second, Chet.
Okay, motion and a second to approve payables. Any further discussion on the payables? All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, payables are approved. Item 6, resolutions and ordinances. Do we have anything under that, Phil?
We have nothing.
Okay. We'll move right along to item 7, an agreement with More Power Technical Group.
So we sent out on Monday, I believe, this document here. And if we go just to the second page of phase 1 and phase 2, this is kind of the list of things that we would need to have happen prior to or in our transition and our move to the new 911 center. And as the system that we currently have isn't very comprehensively mapped, and to ensure that we would be able to change over to our own IT system at the new 911 center, I've met with More Power Technology Group. They're out of Rainier, Oregon, a local company, to look at what their services that they would be able to provide for us to kind of help us make sure that we have all of our I's dotted, T's crossed as we move into the new center. And this meshes with the work that the architect is doing with ADCOM. ADCOM is the technology group, but they do the internal stuff for the radio system, but there wasn't any network technology or architecture built in for our own internal IT processes and system. And so that's what this would do, is that this would help guide us through as a consultant and as advisor for developing what we need to do to have our own IT network and system. And this, I would imagine, if you move down to phase 3, would be an optional part of that, and that would be taking and being part of our system management of IT ongoing, and it would be what they're saying, the modernization of the equipment in the new facility. And so what this would do is be a partner to a proposed IT specialist, or instead of hiring a full-time IT specialist as a help to making our system work in the future. What it would do, and I talked about this earlier about when we talked about a CAD system, is that I would need 2 FTEs. I would propose that this ongoing cost would be one of those FTEs as a contracted employee, and we would have 1 full-time equivalent as a Cowlitz 911 employee. And so it's pretty, what they've done so far is develop this proposal, and they have worked with Wahkiakum County on their PSAP, so they are familiar with the needs of a PSAP and the public safety network, and connected to the state and all of those different connections. And that's why I reached out to them. And so this is the proposal that we have. It's $97,000 for the phase 1 and 2 portions, and then the phase 3 is optional. This is for your consideration.
Well, Phil, this is Brad Thurman. Had we discussed this before? Had there been a request for proposals gone out on this scope of work?
You have not seen this before. This is stuff that was discovered in our, this was discovered as a gap in our plan transitioning to the new service. So I reached out to them only, and I did not do an RFP, and likely that would be an RFP. I just wanted to get this ahead of you, so you kind of see what it is that we're asking a company to do. And I told them I would not use their work that they've done for an RFP. I would make it more general so that it wouldn't be giving up their proprietary this. I just wanted to give a heads up, and so you're aware of that's what we're doing. I wasn't looking for approval for this, even though that's what it's listed on the agenda.
Well, thanks for that clarification. I'd have grave concerns about, approving a sole source contract of something of this scope and nature without further discussion. It's really a larger issue in terms of IT staffing and resources, particularly if we switch to Spillman CAD. How are we going to take care of that? The transfer to the new center, elimination of county IT. It's just a general discussion I think we need to have on what that's going to look like moving forward. So that's my 2 cents.
So I guess which begs the question, are we moving to divorce ourselves, I guess, from the county IT services as well? Or is this being in addition to?
Well, county IT does not provide those services out there.
Okay. And is their scope of experience limited to Wahkiakum County, or is there other PSAPs that have been working with?
They're the only PSAP, but they do a lot of work they do a lot of IT work.
Okay.
I just wanted to give a heads up that this is what we're looking for. I wasn't. It just kind of shows what our needs are. Their timeline is a little bit farther out there than I wanted it to be. I needed to start sooner than that. Phase 1, I need completed before November 30th. I think we need it more like September. And so those are some of the concerns I have with this, the timing of this document too. But just to list all of the things that I need to get done in concert with AdCom work being done at the new facility. This is something that we will need to do on our own.
Okay. Is this list something that you developed, Phil, or your staff did, or is that something that they developed?
It's our joint effort between us and More Power Technology.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any questions on this? I mean, it sounds like, Phil, just for clarification, this work here was specific to providing us with at least some sort of starting point for discussions as we move forward, because knowing we're going to have to address, the move and then ongoing IT support.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll have to, what I've also started doing is having conversations with an IT or a network architect to help identify what our networking system would need to look like. And that's just in the beginning discussions too, as far as how to build that system out there. It's just it wasn't included in the scope of work with the architect.
Right.
So
Okay.
Assuming we go out to RFP for that, or for this, would it make sense to include that network architecture piece as well? Or do you want to keep those separate?
I would have to, what I would be looking for is an internal IT person. So I would look to trying to find somebody that would be that network architect. Again, we would have to get approval for that position to hire that person as an FTE. But it is a person that I'm looking for is be kind of the lead on all of that and would manage an outfit that would be like this second in command that would monitor our systems or as a way to help them so that we have 24/7 coverage.
Yeah. And that's a position, basically, one of the positions you've been talking about for the last several meetings.
That'd be one of the two, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Phil,
Yes.
so with regards to the document you just had up, the IT schedule of things, I noticed that isn't in the packet. Would you have Rachel send that out to everyone?
That's the one we sent out. Yeah, Brianna sent it out for us the other day, but I did not include it in the packet.
Yeah, I got it Monday, Andy.
I do have it. I apologize. I
The
see it right.
reason I didn't want it sent out in the packet because I didn't want to be a publicly disclosed document in case when we go to RFP that this person's work would be used by some other entity.
Yes, I do have it. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on that item 7?
Just, Phil, are you going to be working on an RFP then for the near future?
Yes, I'm going to try to get that out as soon as practical. I don't know exactly when we will be able to put it together, but we are working on it. This was part of the work that we started on that, and it is also a help for us to be able to establish where all of our gaps are.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of that discovery came in those first few points of that document where it says that it would examine what we currently have and then identify what it is that we're going to have to carry with us or what we need to install ourselves and develop ourselves.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you want to move on to item 8, director's report?
Sure, if you're ready. So with
so.
our staffing update, I just, first of all, I'll give you just a regular update on our staffing. We currently have our 18 fully staffed positions filled and functional. We have 3 people in training. Since our last meeting, one of our trainees was let go, wasn't keeping up. And so currently have the 3. One is in her final stage of training, probably be on her own August, September-ish or so. And then the other 2 are both started 2 weeks ago. They're in their 3rd week and they're so far progressing well. There's another development here due to changes in one of our families' situations is that they may be required to move. And so I would be looking to fill an admin position shortly. I would expect that I would have that information by the 1st of next week. And then I would send out a recruitment blast starting as soon as possible. If that move is going to happen, the family would be required to move by August 1st. And so it's still not completely certain that they are, but we should know fairly soon. And with that, I just wanted to let you know that if you saw a recruitment thing come out, That's why.
Okay.
And it would be, the recruitment would come out prior to our next meeting. But when that recruitment starts to, or begins to happen, I would send you all a notification that we're going to send that out. If that sounds agreeable to the board.
Any objections?
No.
Okay.
We certainly don't. We have to keep our staffing levels up and admin as well as dispatchers, so seems appropriate.
Okay. We'll move on to the facility. We're into the final stages of design development. Our final meeting on design development is this Friday. I would expect that we would have that final report from design development within 2 weeks. So in the second week, by the second week of July. And with that, then completion of the design development phase, we'll move right into, the architects will move right into construction documents. And the construction documents then would be prepared and submitted for going out to bid in October, and with bid award in November, and construction still slated to begin in December. We've been in regular contact with the city of Longview. We've had a proposal that has been sent to the Lowe's corporate for their easement. I haven't heard an update on that since last Friday, but they've had it for a couple of weeks. And so the city of Longview is working with Lowe's on ensuring that that easement happens, and or how it can happen. So we're progressing fine that way. We had some more physical work done last week, an examination of some more of the soil structures and helping to design the foundation. And that was part of the work that was approved at our last meeting with that document with the geophysicists. And then I'm going to tie in Spillman with the facility, since it's not listed in anywhere else, is that this week I've gotten some more information from Spillman Motorola on the cost of the Spillman system. I'm still waiting on some more costs, but right now we're at about $460,000 for the Spillman quote, and that does not include the hardware part of the equipment yet. I'm expect previously the Spillman equipment was about, or not the Spillman equipment, but the PCs and monitors for CAD is right around $40,000. So we're looking somewhere around the $500,000 mark right now to go to Spillman. This is going standalone and not partnering with Lewis County. I haven't gotten a full scope of what it would be like for us to go to partner with Lewis County, but a lot of the same challenges that we had with going with Cressa are evident with being a partner with Spillman in Lewis County as well, such as numbering conventions, units, and that unit identificators and such forth. So these are standalone costs. This also puts us up against the window of notifying the state whether or not we're going to participate in that grant or not. And the state is looking for an answer from us by the 15th of July. And so we're pushed up right up against that. So that's kind of where we're at. That's still pretty standard to where we were with previous quotes that I've had, work that I've done to develop a plan to go to Spillman. And this ends up being an additional cost to the users. But again, until I find out what that hardware costs are, I don't have a complete number on that yet. I just wanted to give an update.
Okay. Phil, just a question on the hardware piece of it. Do you know, do the current, what do you call them now? Mobile data terminals is what I always used to call them. But are they compatible? Are agencies going to have to upgrade that as well with the Spillman? Do we know?
What I understand is that they are compatible. Yeah, it's connecting. It's just that's a different connection. It's a connection that would work, from what I understand. We would have to load the software would have to be loaded on, but I believe that the mobile solution is still fine.
Okay. So with the software cost, that $460K, does that include software for the mobile units out there?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
So previously, or right now, without that equipment cost on there, it's about I don't have that total number yet, and it would be premature for me to put a number out there in case I'm not on with that number yet, or still. But I'll pull up my latest spreadsheet here and take a look and see what it was. So yeah, it's 308. Let me double check. $87,000 additional dollars a year so far without the equipment costs.
And that's basically what the grant would have probably covered. Is that correct?
Well, it would have covered our total estimated cost is $1.8 million to make the change. I'm doing like a 6-year average.
Mhm.
So our total changeover this year, and that's including the 2 FTEs, that's including the CAD server hardware, my estimate for CAD server hardware, and I don't know exactly. That's the number I still don't know yet.
Okay.
Is that hardware piece?
And Phil, my understanding is that the records management servers that we use for Spillman have capacity for CAD. Have you checked into that with Clara Angel and records?
We've been checking in with that with Motorola, and still not entirely sure that that's got all the functionality or all the capacity that we would need.
Okay, well, thank you. I just want to make sure that was on the table.
It is. It is. It may be that there's capacity there, but we're not sure.
And Phil, this is Joe. I know you mentioned at the start, the path of a standalone versus a partner with Lewis. So I guess I'm just making sure that the group is okay with that. I know there was, the thought of the benefit of having a partner was, I guess more redundancy and a kind of a safety net having a partner like that. But because that's so that's a significant difference, standalone versus partnering. So I guess I'm assuming everybody has thought about that and had time to consider it, and folks are comfortable with that approach.
I guess I'm not sure comfortable is the right term for me, but it's, I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that that's probably the only path we have for transitioning to Spillman.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with a standalone model. There's nothing to say in the future that the partnerships couldn't be developed moving forward, but I think everything that's going on currently with the new center and a switch to Spillman, I think there's advantages to be standalone.
Okay. Thanks, Sheriff. Okay. Anything else on facility / CAD?
The only question then I would have on that for sure is that if the board is okay with me notifying the state that we're no longer would like to be recipients of that grant, and that they can go back and reutilize that in other places. Because that was one of the requirements for the grant, was to be to partner with another agency.
Right. Well, that's, yeah, I don't want to just assume silence from folks means they're good with that, but I just get the impression it sounds like that's where we're headed. So unless there's an objection, somebody has an objection to Phil delivering that message. If you do, speak up.
I think we're going to have to. Time is short now. I don't see anything changing in that couple of weeks that are left. So it's probably the responsible thing for us to do.
Okay. Sounds like it, Phil.
Okay. Thank you. I'm trying to adjust the screen. There it goes. So we have our climate and culture. We're still continuing to work on that daily, and we're still continuing to progress. I think things are going along pretty well. We still work through those issues. My relationship with the guild is really strong. We're working together on a lot of issues. One of the primary ones at this point was, and we kind of finalized it this morning, was the schedule for next year. The schedule is not grossly different. It's in line with the contract. It's just that instead of 3 12s and a 4 each week, and employees will work 3 12 and an 8 one week, and then 3 12s the next week. So it's just taking those 4 hours and combining it into an 8-hour day instead of a 3 12s and a 4 as we were. So in essence, it's combining 2 peoples into one. And then the next week, that person would be off, the other person would work the 2 4s instead. So it's really no change. It's just a little bit different, and the employees wanted to try that out, and I was supportive of that. It gives them, on that second week, gives them that 4 days off in between their shifts. And with our additional, we're planning a 19-person schedule for next year, because shift selections are happening in October, and so we will have, I expect 19 people to be off or be signed off and ready to go by October. And so we're making a 19-person schedule. So that would still give us the other 2 people that we have, 20 and 21, as be additional spot to increase our staffing and continue to complement what we have. The 19-person schedule just about fills all of our 3-hour days to make them 4. There's still a few segments on Sunday mornings, in particular 7 to 11, that still is running with 3 as scheduled. But other than that, it fills all the other holes. So that's going along pretty well. Radio infrastructure, we have a lot of work happening right now with getting the radio consoles finally installed. They're working on the final workstation today, and so we will be back. I know there's still a few odds and ends things that got to be tied up, but those are almost all completely installed, and I would expect in 2 weeks that all those odds and ends pieces will be tied up, and so that project will be complete. And then the improvements to the radio system with those 4 other sites will be happening, or they're continuing to be explored right now. And we had a little bit of a add-on yesterday, is that the Cowlitz PUD asked to participate fully with us on the Deer Island site, and that was, the PUD's been on again, off again, and they came back on again and wanted to be a full participant again in that. So we're still grappling with that and that change that's happened in the last couple of days. I'm trying to get all our arms wrapped around that. But other than that, the other work is the planning for it is starting, and the construction will be following sometime this summer.
Hey, Phil, just going back to the facility piece briefly, it is there going to be a point soon where we can see just kind of the basics of what this new center is going to look like, and basic floor plan and that kind of stuff?
Would you like to see it today?
Sure, if you're there. I mean, if it's at that point.
I can show pretty much. I can show a pretty good. It'll be drafty, but I'll show that towards the end of the meeting, if that's okay, Al.
Yeah, or just send it out even after the meeting. That would be great.
I think it's going to require some explanation. So.
Okay, it's more out of curiosity on my part. Just
Sure.
Get some visualization of it. So yeah, if other people are interested, I certainly am.
Yeah, I can pull that up today. The other thing with the facility that I did forget to mention is that yesterday and today we interviewed two firms yesterday for the underwriting of the bonds, and we interviewed the third one immediately following this meeting at 11:30. And so far, what we've gotten from the first two is some really good ideas and additional options that we can look at as far as improving our spot with issuing bonds. The good thing about interviewing these firms is that we can, at the end of the day, can combine all of the good ideas with the final firm that we end up choosing, and to using all the different pieces together. So it's been an interesting thing. I've never done underwriter interviews before, but Kurt Saha, Norm Crable, myself, our advisors from Northwest and NWMA, Scott Bauer and Ryan Neumeister, have been participating in those interviews, and they usually have about 3 or 4 people from the different banks that are doing these proposals. So that's really been going really well, and it looks like we're going to get some good rates. The bond market is good for us right now, and sales tax supported bonds are of interest. So there's no problems foreseen in the near future as far as that going forward.
Cool.
And then that pretty much takes care of that on my report. Other than one other thing is that we're at the very end of our audit. We haven't had an exit interview on our audit yet, but there are 3 items that they've brought up as kind of things to work on. And one of those is for the review of the monthly reconciliation that Cowlitz 2 does for us. They want that to be reviewed at the final document to be reviewed by a member of Cowlitz 911 each month. And so that's one. It's not a big deal. It's just something that they said that would be good to have. There's number 2 is on pension liability. Right now we report pension liability by PEFI, and Rachel can help us out here more if I mess this up. And then they suggest that we match our records to PEFI rather than assume that PEFI has done a good job. And then user access to BIAS. BIAS is our software for accounts payable and that type of thing. Since I haven't been a user, but I've been listed as a user on there, but I don't use it, they suggested that I come off of that and only have people that use BIAS software as being able to have credentials. And so 3 pretty small things in the grand scheme of things for starting out. And I would just like to give a huge shout out to Rachel for the work that she's done and the work that Brandy has done, Cowlitz 2 has done in assisting us through this transition. And boy, it's looking really good. So pretty impressed with all of the work that's been done there. Okay, that's it for my report, Joe.
Thank you. Any questions for Phil regarding any of the stuff from his report before we move on? Okay. Sounds like we move on to old business, user fee update.
So yeah, on the user fee update, we have in our bylaws an accepted user fee formula for the end that would carry us through the end of 2020. And at our last meeting, we had kind of landed on agreement, a consensus that a 1.6% increase would be acceptable. In a 1.6% annual increase would be acceptable. So at our next meeting, I would intend to bring back language to the service level agreements that would outline that. We have to give 60 days notice based on our bylaws that there would be a change in the funding formula. And we would change that funding formula to be a 1.6% increase, 1.6% annual increase to each agency going forward. And it would then, because we have accepted a new funding formula, the other funding formula would die, as it's stated in the bylaws, that it would not be carried over unless there hasn't been another funding formula developed. So just wanted to bring that up as to make sure that we were still on the same page and that you find that to be acceptable. And then that would be a 3-year term, so that that new service level agreement would carry us through 2023 with automatic, or with the ability to renew that for 2 more times at 3-year terms. I see a nod from Alan.
That sounds like what we discussed, so I'm good with that.
So we'll have the service level agreements modified and changed and brought back for your for notification to all the agencies at our next meeting. And then that'll start the 60-day clock window for that notification.
So will that require signatures from each member organization then?
It would.
Okay.
Yes. And so that would get us into 60 days would be into September. And then the agencies would have, September, October to get those signatures on those documents. And then if we had them all in hand by December 1st for our new budget year, then that would be great. Does that sound doable for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Should work.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else on that, do we have anything under board comments or committee reports? Okay, doesn't sound like
We did
it.
have a law user
Okay.
meeting. It's supposed to be technical advisory committee, but a law user meeting the other day, I think it was last week, and really was an update that I gave them regarding where we were at with Spillman, and really no other major things that we discussed.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Do we have any need for executive session today?
No.
Okay, anything else from anybody for the good of the order? All right. Not hearing anything. Sounds like we are ready to adjourn. That's the case. We will adjourn the meeting at 10:41.
And is Phil gonna still show us what the new center will look
Oh,
like?
sorry. Sorry.
That doesn't have to be part of